Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Tuesday, the 13th of December, comes to you from London. And we start, as always, by looking at currencies. Then we'll look at stock markets, US, Europe, Asia, then some commodities, and last of all, some stocks. And we'll take a look at the Dow 30 today as well, just the constituents, what's driving the market. So we start with the dollar index recovering. It's, as we've said, it's back above the cloud. So it's bullish on all time frames. Really awaiting. We have a new thrust target off this column. Really awaiting the Fed decision, but the market is expecting that rise now, and that's priced in. And we see here the euro is again back testing these support levels. We're at the 106 level this morning. The 105 level is absolutely the critical level. We fall through that, we start activating some very big downside targets. But we've also got these medium-term targets here, and the short-term target given back in November of 101. So parity on the dollar is probably the story we're going to hear next year. If we take a look at the Japanese yen, the dollar is still rising here as well, coming through the cloud on the price. So the Japanese market, we're watching that, and on this short-term chart, just finding support here on the cloud. So we are seeing upside potential. We have got a target of 121. That's about 5% upside. So a strong dollar is very much the theme. Sterling is recovering quite well as well against the dollar. Interestingly, we're finding support here. We do have this downside target, but we do have the support as well. So quite interesting that we've got that there. And if you want to look at the 1 minute chart to see which way sterling's likely to go, we see this move and then that move back. Press the T key on the system. We get the trends and targets, and we see we've got this downside target to 122 and upside to 128.90. If we just alter the box size a little bit, go smaller, we see that it's quite mixed. We have got a downside target not activated, upside targets activated. So we're really having to wait for the new thrust targets to give us a clearer picture. But the 1 minute chart is where they show up first. Looking against the euro, sterling strengthening here, back nudging that 120 level against the Swiss franc, also coming through on the daily cloud now. So sterling just starting to show some signs of recovery, and the same on the Australian dollar through here as well. If we look at stock markets now, the S&P 500 did pull back very, very slightly last night, but the key thing is that we are just really motoring now, bullish on all fronts. If we look at the Nasdaq, not quite as bullish as the S&P, but it is above all the clouds now. We still do need to break this 4900 level on the Nasdaq 100 index. Once we do that, then we run again, much as we've seen on the other markets. So we're still just waiting for tech to break out. The Dow looking incredibly strong, still going up. Upside target to 20,857. Not far to get there now. So it looks like we're going to break 20,000 pretty soon. The Russell pulled back 1% last night, so the broader base stocks just pulling back a little bit, but still bullish on all time frames as well. An absence of short-term targets does make it hard to call this week. And then if we take a look at some of the futures markets, look at the Nasdaq E-mini. We see here as well we're still bullish, waiting for this breakout. The 1 minute chart here again might just give us a heads up. Of course, this chart changing very, very quickly. Here we see the price action moving up, changing by the minute as the market is open, and we're still before the US Open here, and we see we've got these upside targets. Going back a box size there, we've got 5065, that's about 4% upside target. But when we go to the smaller box size, the 1x3 chart, we've got some small upside targets, but we're not seeing any signs of breaking this 49.17 level that was set. So we need to watch for new price action as the market opens today. Taking a look at the FTSE 100 index, that's starting to look pretty bullish as well, above the cloud on all time frames, and the 250 much the same. Not quite as bullish on the daily, but it is being pulled up by the rest of the market. The DAX has been an amazing story the last week or two. It's really just broken right out. There's the move last week, breaking out of that range on the weekly. We see that then on the daily. We said it needs to break that 10,800 level. It's like a coiled spring now, it's running. So DAX looking very bullish indeed. Tokyo overnight continues to rise, weaker yen helping, coming through on that weekly cloud now. So that's a long-term bullish transition. China still bearish in the short term below the cloud. We've got a 3.5% downside, but the medium term chart is bullish but bearish long term. So that's just weighing a little bit. Hang Seng also below the cloud. So, and just wandering through on the daily here. So bearish on all three time frames. China, the market that's not looking quite as good. India recovering, still bearish on the medium term. Long term didn't quite turn bearish. Upside targets here of around 4.5%. So we are seeing that. The Aussie market sold off a little bit overnight, but we are just seeing again we are through on the cloud, so that's quite bullish. If we take a look at Brent, we see that it's holding crude. Now looking at commodities, we're seeing that Brent crude is holding that level, so that's quite it's quite bullish that we're just holding these rises that we've seen recently, and we are making this long-term transition into bullish territory, expecting a good start to the year for oil prices. Nat gas did just fall back to this 350 level, so we've got some short-term bearishness creeping in, but the long-term picture is changing here as well. Taking a look at gold, we see here that we're below the clouds, still bearish, just starting to look a little bit worrying on the long-term chart, and silver is just holding its bullishness, so hopefully gold will pull back there. Copper rising here on the long and medium term charts, just falling short term. Of course, we're all lying in wait, waiting for the Fed decision tomorrow, and we see here that the charts are pricing in a rise. We are very much in this high 240s area, so the market is expecting that. Taking a look at some tech, Apple now starting to look bullish above the clouds. Google is also looking bullish above the cloud on all three. Amazon has now just started to make the transition, though the medium-term cloud is a little bit worrying, and Facebook is just really struggling to get back above the cloud as well. Microsoft, the bright spot, really looking quite good there. So Microsoft starting to run. I mentioned that we'd look at the Dow 30 constituents. This great thing about having this long-term, medium-term, and short-term view is that we can actually get a really good quick view. So Apple, we've talked about just looking bullish. What's driving the Dow? American Express looking good. Boeing, that's an amazing looking chart, bullish on all three time frames. Caterpillar just starting to look a little bit bearish short term, but it has been very strong. A really good trend this year so far. Cisco, again bullish on the short term just now. It's not the tech really. Interestingly, Chevron really rising very strongly here, bullish on all three time frames. DuPont, much the same picture. Great upside targets here. You can do this on any list of stocks. So we just see very quickly, we get a very quick picture of what's going on. General Electric, GE, just again, great short-term upside targets. That's really driving things. Goldman Sachs, really big move here. I mean, a massive move this year. Home Depot, all the charts looking pretty good. IBM bullish, Intel not quite as bullish on the short term. And then if we look at Johnson & Johnson, again just bullish on the short term, making that transition. JP Morgan, interestingly there, again bullish. Coke, not so bullish in the medium term, but bullish on the other charts. McDonald's again making a good transition here. 3M all up. You know, all these charts looking really strong. We can see why the Dow, Merck's just made a short-term transition. There's more to play for as there's more stocks transitioning to bullish. So it just gives us an idea by looking at the constituents, what's going on. Virtually none of these constituents looking bearish, which is what's really driving the Dow. All the stocks short-term bullish. This Travelers Co looking really bullish. And again, all these charts just one by one. United Technologies, bullish on all three. Visa, not quite as bullish here, so that's still looking a little bit bearish, but only on the medium term. On the long and short term, looking bullish. Same here on Verizon. Walmart, much the same picture, but just turning bullish, making a long-term transition. And ExxonMobil, with that oil price now just kicking up as well. So that gives you an idea as to why the Dow is really running. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting.